Well, if you're watching this, then you watch Mask of the Evil Apparition, written and directed by Alex Proyas, and we have him on here for a short interview. Thank you, Alex, for coming on and talking about your short. And I understand it was an experiment to see how films like this can be streamlined in production for a faster turnaround. But I also wanted to mention Mask of the Evil Apparition is the only film that features green screen work from all of the films that we've shown so far, and you really can't tell between them. Something that was done with practical on-set work and one that was done by yours. I think that is just an absolute credit to how far technology has come, and it's pretty much looking as real as it can possibly look. So congratulations on your effort. I know it's had a successful festival run. We are overjoyed to have screened your work and to bring you on to talk about it. So thank you for joining us, Alex.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, look, the film has done really well. It's been received very, very well, much to my surprise. I mean, it was made as you say, as a little kind of proof of concept. I've built a studio here in Sydney called Heretic Foundation to further the cause of virtual production, and this was our first proof of concept film. We've done a few others since. This was done way back in the beginning of last year, before we all knew what this COVID curse was, and it's taken us probably longer to complete because of the various lockdowns and stuff that we've actually all been through than it probably would have. But yeah, it's the technology worked really well, and of course we've built upon that first iteration of the workflow we created for that film, and now we're really firing on all cylinders with our studio.
No, I admit I totally enjoyed the short film. I am just curious to see what's going to come next.
Oh yeah,
from that story.
Yeah. Well, that film is based. I actually wrote that script way back when I was making Dark City, and it was part of a series of films that I was making based on people's dreams, called The Book of Dreams. And so that particular script was sort of adapted when I had to shoot something very quickly. We had to throw production very quickly together, and I knew it was only a short. And I don't write a lot of shorts, obviously, these days. Everything I write, I try and turn into a feature if I can. So I sort of went through the old files trying to find something that I could dust off and use, and I found this particular script. So that's why it's very closely aligned with my film Dark City, because it was kind of written at the same time, and it's very much in the same sort of universe, yeah, so it is part of a series. I can't say much, we've talked about continuing the story, but I have a lot of other fish to fry at the moment, a lot of other projects on the boil, and so we've got whether or not we'll get around to continuing that story, I'm not sure at this point in time.
Okay, that's great to know that you have other fishes to fry, and stuff like that.
Now I'm hungry.
Yeah, watch out for the food.
I've sort of mixed my metaphors there, because I said fish to fry and things to boil all in the one statement, which was probably a bit messy of me to say that.
Your work is known for gritty sci-fi, urban sci-fi, really strong characters, strong elements. But in looking through your work, you haven't really touched on horror all that much. And Mask of the Evil Apparition, as you said, it's part of a series. There's not much you can talk here from now, but this has a serious influence on, in my opinion, the horror community, because a name like yours now making horror films. I've seen the reception with Mask of the Evil Apparition. It has been tremendous. Right. Everywhere that it's screened at, Screamfest, Popcorn Frights, a number of big ones. I think you're really onto something here, Alex. I know you've already built a strong career, but horror is definitely that's something that you can wield.
Thank you for saying so. And it's been kind of weird because I've never really made an outright horror movie, though I love the genre. The Exorcist is one of my all-time favorite films. And I've always wanted to make a horror film, but all my films, or many of my films, not all, but most of my films, I think, definitely dabble with the genre. I think Dark City, even The Crow, and Knowing also, they all have horror elements in them. And it seems to me that people really like it when I play with those elements. So I thought, why not? I'll embrace it. It seems like the age we're living through right now, the horror genre is such a potent genre right now, and to me it seems like a no-brainer. And so much of my stuff that I work on very easily goes to that sort of darker side,
Yeah.
So yeah. Look, I'm definitely embracing all the projects I have on the boil at the moment are in various kind of degrees horror films.
Now, if you can talk about, you had a small crew. I've read little snippets of how this was, a project. It was an experiment. But talk about your feelings as far as from beginning to end. Is this something that definitely satisfied your curiosity as far as making a film purely on green screen with a crew, streamlining it through the different ways? Maybe you can touch on that a little bit, and if you see like this is definitely something that I'd like to pursue further, or are you kind of leaning back towards, it was good, and the reception for Mask of the Apparition was great, but I still kind of like the older format?
Look, I've been going in this direction for some time. In fact, I did some of the very first virtual production on any big movie, which was actually an iROBOT. We were, I think, AI, Spielberg had done work on AI, and we did iROBOT around the same time. And, we had to sort of build tools to make that happen. And so for me, this goes way back. It's a technique I've been using a lot. And in fact, Gods of Egypt was predominantly almost 100% virtual production. Yes. But look, I wanted to build a new way forward because to me, it's like, even up to Gods of Egypt was 2015, I think, when we were shooting it, we were using very antiquated technology, and it's come such a long way in the last couple of years.
Right. Yeah.
Unreal Engine is been part of the sort of game plan, and that's really expedited the whole process. So
Unreal Engine, really?
Yeah. So we've actually built this facility now. I've got a company that specifically does virtual production and VFX as well. And all of my films are going to be done this way from now on. And we're already making films for other filmmakers, other producers. At the moment, we're finishing off a feature right now for another company. And it's, to me, the use of green screen and LED screens and in combination the best way forward. And the reason for that is, there's been a lot of high profile exposure to like The Mandalorian,
right.
And that's kind of created a real interest in virtual production. And that's the very high end, of course. That's, guys with all the money that they want to throw at it, but they were doing it for the same reasons as we're doing it, which is because it streamlines production. You can shoot much faster and more efficiently. You don't have to travel to all these different locations. And like any other methodology, once it becomes more affordable, everyone starts doing it. So that was the revolution with digital photography that happened a few years ago. As soon as it became cheaper, as soon as a studio saw that it was a cheaper way to work than it was to shoot on film, it's become all pervasive now. Pretty much everyone's shooting digitally these days. And we're discovering, personally, I'm discovering that it's a much better medium to shoot on. I was trying to get into digital way before the studios wanted to let me go there. So it's I think virtual production is the new way forward. I think everyone's going to start doing it. More and more people are doing it. More and more of these LED volumes are being constructed all over the world. And, you know, we're hoping we can spearhead that transition, because I love it. I think it's great. I mean, you know, I've always thought filmmaking is an incredibly wasteful process, as much as it's lovely to be on a big set that you've imagined and suddenly you see it built in front of you and you walk around it. You know, it's an incredibly wasteful way to work. You know, it's so much labor and work is put into building this set, and then the day after you've checked your dailies, it gets you know, it becomes landfill. You know, and
Yeah.
I don't think that makes sense for us in our current world to be working that way. You know, so even from an environmental point of view, I think virtual is a great way to work. You know, people, you know, even if you're not building sets, even location work, flying your entire crew, you know, all over the world, again, you know, environmentally, and also in our, you know, pandemic age that we live in, you know, it all makes sense. It makes really, really good sense to be working in this way. And like I say, when it becomes a cheaper way to work and also a better way to work, you get more as a filmmaker. You have infinitely more control. I don't have to be ruled by the budget. I don't have to go, gee, I want to set my movie on Mars, and I can't afford to do that, you know, or I want to set my movie in the desert and I can't afford to take my crew there, or whatever. That becomes irrelevant, you know. Everyone, whether you're making a science fiction fantasy world or a domestic drama, you know, suddenly we all go onto the same page, you know, and so filmmakers' imagination becomes freed and not endlessly ruled by budget, you know, which is always
Very true. And Kevin, you want to ask a question since you finally joined us?
Oh, I apologize for stepping in a bit late, but
welcome, Kevin.
But Alex, I'm amazed at. I mean, I find a certain pattern. It seems that you kind of like to do in your films and in this short film, the lost soul. You kind of like to. It seems like you like to touch upon that damaged people, lost soul as the protagonist. You know, that kind of thing. Is there something about, you know, that when we watch the young girl Olivia in the short, you know, she enters as this lost soul of a person, and you have to figure out, you know, exactly what you know, who she was before she shows up, why the people are after her, and so forth. Are you fascinated by the lost soul type of person?
Of course, yeah, and I think even more so the lost soul. It's an endless quest to understand who you are as a person. Yeah. I think that's the ultimate mystery. Right. And so, you know, my films are very clearly obsessed with that idea. You know, it's very interesting to me that we also live in an age where people generally seem to have lost their sense of their own identity and are constantly trying to define exactly what that is. You know, I'm working on a TV series at the moment that is about that, and it's all themes that I kind of came up with back in the day, in the, like, you know, in the late 90s, you know. But I'm finding that resurrecting these themes right now, they seem to be even more relevant to people today than they ever were, you know. And I guess, I mean, you know, I'm getting on now. I'm not the young guy who came up with those ideas, and I think I'm probably less obsessed with, you know, who I am and what, you know, than I was back then. But it's still, to me, it seems like at a certain point in your life, a lot of people go through that, and some people never find the solution, you know, or they find a solution and then look for another one later on in life, you know. So to me, it's very relevant. It's about, you know, it's also to do. I find that theme is very related to the sort of fragmentation of reality, you know, the endless transformation of reality. And now we're living in a world, of course, where people build their own truths and their own reality. And social media facilitates our own little bubble of reality, you know, every individual bubble of reality. The algorithm sends you stuff that it wants you to see and read, you know, and it excludes the stuff that it knows you don't agree with, you know. And to me, this is like the ultimate example of this sort of quest to focus on who you are and what your world is and what your reality is, you know, which is themes that I've been endlessly fascinated with for my entire life, probably, you know.
Well, and I also was fascinated that you seem to do a take on sexuality in this, where you're talking about, you know, one of the key, you know, sequences is this guy that Olivia has met, who apparently can channel as a telepath. That it's needed that he has to have sex with her in order to protect her.
Well, so he says.
So he says.
So we don't know for sure,
right? But it's all about this. Was that something that you were just? Was there something about sexuality or virginity that you were trying to address there?
No, it wasn't. It's not so much about virginity, but it's definitely about sexuality and about gender and sexual identity. You know.
Yeah.
It's definitely exploring those themes. I mean, you know, you can see it as Olivia's quest to find her true self, you know.
Right.
That's really kind of what the film is, you know. And then when she encounters her truth, you know, the my little byline for the film is fear thyself, you know. Now whether or not she's truly she truly needs to be fearful of her true identity, or she just is fearful of her true identity and needs to work through that, is, you know, completely up to the viewer, you know.
Yes, and I do have one other question about your cast. I thought your cast did an incredible job.
Here.
Doing this short. So can you tell us about your cast?
Yeah, look, again, the new world I find myself living in, I cast the film entirely through social media. I didn't do traditional casting, and none of the actors I did. Actually, no, sorry, one of them I did a workshop with. She was in a workshop, Alex King, who plays Olivia's kind of you know, counselor through the story. So her I did know beforehand, and Bonnie Ferguson, who plays Olivia, I'd done another little short film, which was a real experiment in just me and her going out and making a film. That was literally the entire crew, and I met her through that, but I met them all through social media, you know, the others all through social media, and sorry, Goran, who plays one with the mysterious people, whoever they are, the guys who are plotting behind the scenes, the mysterious ones, I think we call them.
Yes.
Goran, actually, I had worked with. In fact, he was in Gods of Egypt. He played the god of the land of the dead, but he was computer generated. We never actually got to see him. So I was working with Goran for months, in a green suit, and really, you know, marveling at what a wonderful face he has and how much I'd love to put him in something where I could actually see his face finally, you know. So well, he got his chance on that. And, you know, Goran's terrific. Goran, I call him the new Boris Karloff. I think he's got a wonderful quality
Those
about
are some
him.
shoes to fill.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to thank you, Alex, for coming on and spending some time with us. And thank you, audience, for tuning into the Death Parade Film Fest, our second season. I hope you enjoyed Mask of the Evil Apparition. And once again, Alex Proyas coming on the show with us. Spend a little bit of time, talk about behind the scenes, very interesting work. Thank you again. You have a long and cherished career, and we wish you more continued success, and we're going to be following whatever you're working on.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for the support.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thanks for coming on.
Well, glad to have you come back anytime.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks
Take
a
care,
lot.
Alex.
Have a
Cheers.
great
Yeah.
day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.